AI is the key word right now. Everybody wants a bit of it, and that does not stop when it comes to investing. We know in investing, if you don't want to be an investor that goes out and picks individual plays, then you stick with an index fund or an ETF. You invest into something that will give you a basket of different stocks, and through diversification will lower your risk. So let's deal with just that today. The best AI ETFs. Obviously, some of these that we're going to go through today are pretty new, so they won't be as established as some other ETFs that you're perhaps used to investing into. Also, I know that the majority of my audience is based in the UK, so I wanted to make sure that all of the ETFs I discussed today are actually available for UK residents. So I've checked, and all of these that we're going to go through are available to get hold of on Trading 212. So first up, we have the Global X Robotics and Artificial Intelligence ETF, ticker symbol BOTZ. Now, I believe this one does have a US counterpart, but this one specifically that is listed on the London Stock Exchange was founded in 2021, so very, very new. And it's a fund that seeks to invest in companies that potentially stand to benefit from the increased adoption and utilization of robotics and artificial intelligence. So this includes those companies working in both industrial and non-industrial robotics, automation, and autonomous vehicles. So this is the website for the US listed version of this ETF. So we're going to have a look at this just to get an idea of what you actually get if you invest into this one, but I will show you as well specific information for the one on the London Stock Exchange. So firstly, we have some reasons to consider BOTZ. And this is kind of reasons to consider artificial intelligence or an artificial intelligence ETF in general. High growth potential, compelling economics, and unconstrained approach. It makes sense across the board really. So I'm not going to dive into that one too much, but let's just go down a little bit here. So you'll see the inception date is quoted as 2016. Like I said, the London Stock Exchange one specifically was 2021. Ticker symbol BOTZ, and number of holdings I want to point out here, 44. That's not that many holdings. We are used to seeing way more in a given ETF. But of course, there are also not that many companies that would fit the criteria to actually be in an ETF purely about artificial intelligence and robotics. So you kind of expect it. But just bear that in mind, you are getting 44 different companies, but you are not getting quite the diversification as you would if you put your money into, let's say, an S&P 500 tracker. You can see the total expense ratio for the US listed fund. Ignore that, it's not the same for the UK version. So we'll get onto that in a minute. And let's just go down here. I want to show you what the top holdings are. Okay, so we will look at the top holdings for the London one specifically, but they are the same in terms of what's in it and what order they're in. But there's slight differences in the percentage that each company makes up. So straight away, we can see the largest holding in this ETF is Nvidia. I guess that doesn't really come as a surprise given the fact that this will be weighted by market cap. And of course, we all know Nvidia have been doing crazy things recently and their market cap is huge. So you can see Nvidia number one, which is a very, very well-known company. And then in second place, so the second largest company in this ETF is Intuitive Surgical Inc. You might not have heard of this company and you might not know what they do. So I'm just going to explain this one really quickly for you. This is an American company most famous for creating a system, a machine called the Da Vinci system, which is now utilized across many different operations, and it's basically a minimally invasive way to do surgery, and that's kind of what they focus on. They focus on manufacturing and developing robotic products that allow hospitals to be less invasive in their surgeries, and the hope of that, of course, is to increase the outcomes for the patients alongside saving time and therefore money in the hospitals as well. But like I said, they're most famous for their Da Vinci surgical system. So go and Google that. It kind of looks like it's so futuristic, like a big robot with a big octopus with loads of tentacles doing an operation on someone, but it's very, very clever. And like I said, it's very widely used, sorry. And then aside from that, we have some other companies that again, you might not have heard of. So if you are going to invest into an ETF that has only 44 holdings, definitely at least Google what the top sort of 5 or 10 do. You've got some Japanese names in here. You've got some companies that are doing interesting things in terms of lasers, automation, So definitely just have a look at that. But what you'll notice, I'm going to flick to the UK specific one here. This is just on AJ Bell's website, gives some information. There's not that much information out there right now because they're so new. But let me scroll down. So if you look here, this is correct as of the 15th of June, so very, very recently, Nvidia take up 11.7 of the total fund. You can see here it's 11.83, so there are some differences. So let's just go back. We have 11.7, 9.17, 7.6. So what you can basically see is just in the top 5 alone, it's over 40% of the entire ETF. So that does mean it's quite concentrated. That means that if one of the top 5 companies do something good or something bad, the whole ETF's performance will be very affected. That's what it means by being very concentrated. So obviously it's not going to lower your risk as much as if you put money into a fund that has 500, 600, 700 companies, because if one of them does very bad or very good, or the collection of the top 5, it's not going to affect it as much. But of course, they're all market weighted. So you could argue against that as well. You could say if you have VUSA, S&P 500 tracker, and both Meta, Apple, and Microsoft, Alphabet, and Tesla do bad things, it obviously will affect the fund quite a lot. Anyway, I'm waffling on, so let's move on. I want to point out the ongoing charge. The ongoing charge for this BOTZ is 0.5%. Now, obviously, bear that in mind. We're going to compare it as we go through because the ongoing charge is very important as an investor. Ultimately, any charge that you're getting when investing, whether it's an ongoing charge, FX fee, a commission fee, an amount of money you have to pay for your platform to have the account, whatever it is, all of that ultimately means less money that you get to keep as an investor. And what is an investor's aim? To make and keep money. So we want the lowest ongoing charges we can, but if it's a fund that you really, really like and you think it's going to do well, it might be worth paying slightly more than the next one that you don't like as much. So 0.5 is the ongoing charge for this. Now, just to quickly look at the performance, like I said, 2021. And what you can see here is it goes down and it goes back up. It's kind of like a smile. So that's nice. It went down from 2021 all the way to the bottom here. A lot of companies did this. We had a big tech sell-off, so it's really not surprising to see this here. We saw many companies across the board have a similar stock performance as this. And since then, as AI interest has grown and people are piling money into different AI stocks, this of course has increased the performance of this ETF, and it's slowly been rising since then. So just to go back to this website here, just so we can see some more information. Sector-wise, it's going to be quite heavily concentrated in particular sectors, because there are obviously sectors that aren't really moving towards, let's say, AI and robotics right now. You're not going to see the banking sector in here really, but you are going to see obviously information technology, industrials, healthcare, a little bit of financials actually, which is, I guess 1.1% is not very much, but this is kind of expected. So it's very heavily weighted towards these top 3 sectors, and then if we go to industries, you will see here not surprising whatsoever. And then if we have a look at countries, now this is very interesting. It's most heavily weighted towards the US and Japan. What does that tell you? That tells you that the US is very far ahead in terms of AI and robotics. They're the ones that have the big companies that are pushing this more so than anyone else, followed by the Japanese. Then we have Switzerland, which is kind of surprising. And we have the UK down here at 1.6%. And like I said, this fund, alongside all others I speak about, are available on Trading 212. I've checked myself because that's where I have my investment portfolio. If you do want to set up a Trading 212 account, use the link in the description. That link will give you a free share worth up to £100 when you deposit £1 or more. So the next one up on the list today is exactly the same as the first one, but the ticker symbol is BOTG. Now this one is exactly the same as BOTZ, the one we've just discussed, but I believe it to be the income version. So the version of the fund that is going to pay you those dividends. This one is available on Trading 212, but I can't really find it anywhere else, and I can't find an awful lot of information on this. I do know someone in my Discord actually does invest into this, so it's a real thing. BOTG is the ticker symbol. and I don't really know much about what dividend yield it has right now. I can't really find it anywhere, and it's very, very new. So I think information is going to be coming out about this one in due course. But BOTG, income version, BOTZ, non-income version. That's what it seems like. Next up on the list, we have Legal & General's Robo Global Robotics and Automation ETF. Ticker symbol ROBO. There is also an ETF with this ticker symbol listed on the New York Stock Exchange, but that is different. So just look for the one that says Legal & General. So here we are on Legal & General's website, and you can see that straight away this is an accumulating ETF. So that means it's not going to pay you dividends. It's instead going to automatically reinvest those back into the fund and grow your position. That way, you're never going to see the dividends. You don't need to worry about them. Index ticker is listed as ROBOT, Robot. I just told you that it's Robo. You can find it just through Robo on Trading 212. It's listed as that ticker symbol on Trading 212. I don't know why there's a bit of a confusion here. Maybe just type in the full name to avoid any confusion. So let's just have a look what it's doing. So the index, so it's essentially tracking an index. The index aims to track the performance of a basket of stocks of companies that are actively engaged in robotics and automation related activities. The index is comprised of companies which are publicly traded on various stock exchanges around the world that generate a material proportion of their revenue from the robotics and automation industry from the following two subsectors: technology and applications, including manufacturing, industrial automation, 3D printing, all of this stuff that we'd probably expect to see in here. So moving down, we'll just do this as it comes rather than jumping back and forth. We can have a look at the performance, and what can we see? We can see again in 2021 there was a massive decline as we had a massive tech sell-off. We saw it across many different companies. We've just seen it across the other ETF, BOTZ. And since then, as AI and as all this stuff has been gaining momentum, it's been picking up again. So now, what are you actually getting if you put your money into this ETF? Sector-wise, you're getting 43.4% of your money allocated to the information technology, the IT sector, followed by 41.5% to industrials, 12.8% to healthcare. You're getting a little bit towards consumer discretionary and consumer staples, but what you can see is the top three that are making up the most, again, these same sectors: IT, industrials, healthcare. When we talk about automation and AI, we definitely expect AI to be in IT, 100%, and industrials actually. And then when we start talking about automation and a little bit of AI too, healthcare does come into it. And a lot of people, I think, forget about that. But think about all of the surgical equipment that can be automated, that can be robotics, like we just saw talking about the Da Vinci system. And the top 10 companies in this fund are a little less concentrated and maybe a little less overbearing than the BOTZ one that we've just talked about. Firstly, you can see 79 companies, more than the 44 in BOTZ, but you might not like these companies as much. You might like the fact that Nvidia are taking up a bigger percentage of the other fund. So Intuitive Surgical, we've discussed them already. They are the biggest one, 2.3, quickly followed by Nvidia and then ServiceNow, Cardex Group. You can see all of these named here. Like I said, if you do want to invest into a fund, definitely just see what the top weighting ones do at the very least. You can see that the top 10 are accounting for 18.8%. The rest of the index for the remaining 81.2%. So it's not too over concentrated in those top positions. And then country percentage, surprise, surprise, we've got the US and then Japan as the two largest. Then we've got Germany and Taiwan. Taiwan, of course, a massive, massive company when it comes to semiconductor chips. So not surprised there at all. Switzerland again making an appearance, and you can see the rest here too. Now this one is slightly more expensive than the last one we looked at, coming in at 0.8%. And of course it states here that it is ISA eligible and SIP eligible, which is very important for us investors in the UK. The next one up on the list today is iShares Automation and Robotics ETF. Ticker symbol RBOT. Okay, so the iShares Automation and Robotics ETF. It looks like you can get this one in the accumulating version or the distributing version. The distributing version, ticker symbol RBOD. I haven't checked if that one is on Trading 212, but the accumulating version is when I last checked. So this fund gives you diversified access to companies that are developing technology in the fields of automation and robotics. across both the developed and emerging markets. So next up, let's take a look at the performance here. This fund actually started in 2016, and you can see it had a nice little run up to 2018. Some dips, some peaks, all we expect. 2020, a massive fall. We expected that. It happened across the board, completely across the board. And then an amazing run up here all the way to, I imagine, 2021. There it is again. And a big fall, and we're back up again. These are all following the same picture, really. What you could do is you could go on Yahoo Finance and compare each of these in terms of performance to each other. You won't be able to compare it directly because they all started at different times, but it will give you an idea maybe if one is really outperforming the others. Moving on to some important facts here. The total expense ratio, 0.4%. So this one is a little bit cheaper than the others that we've discussed already. It is ISA eligible and it is SIP available, so that's all good. Ticker symbol RBOT, like I said. This is the accumulating version. It started September 2016. Moving down here, number of holdings, 154. So that is quite a lot of holdings. So far, what have we had? We've had 44 and 79. So this one is the largest by far and the cheapest so far. But what are you actually getting in those 154 different holdings? Well, the largest one by weight you're getting is Nvidia. No surprise there. We've seen that one before. And then these two companies here, I believe, are both in the semiconductor sector. Then we've got Bentley Systems, Intuitive Surgical again, which we've spoken about. Workday and Snowflake. You might have heard of Snowflake. I don't see... Okay, we're going to touch on something in just a minute. You also get in Sage Group, which if you're in the UK, you've probably heard of Sage Group. And let's just go to page 2 out of interest. SAP. Okay, you're seeing some of the same companies, just in slightly different weightings. You're getting some Japanese companies here as well. What I was going to say is I'm very surprised, and I guess it's the criteria that they have. I haven't looked into that very much. I'm very surprised that we're not seeing companies like Tesla in here, companies like Palantir. I don't know, is it because Palantir is not listed on the S&P 500? I don't know, but these are big AI plays that I would expect to see. Everyone writes Tesla off as being just a car company. They are very heavily involved in AI and robotics, so I don't know why they're not featured. But we've still got some really big names. I'm guessing someone that's smarter than me, tell me in the comments below the answer to that question. I guess it's something to do with the either criteria to these ETFs or a reason that those two companies maybe can't be in here. I don't know. Sector exposure, heavily, nearly 70% in the IT sector, followed by industrials. And healthcare is slightly lower on this one. So if you wanted more exposure into the healthcare industry, the healthcare sector, maybe look at some of the other funds compared to this one. Geography-wise, again, heavily US. More heavy than the other two, I believe. We'd have to check again, but more heavy than those. Japan, Germany, Taiwan. All the semiconductor companies are coming under this one. We have a little bit of exposure to the UK, Sage being a UK company. And the final AI ETF we have today is the WisdomTree Artificial Intelligence ETF. Now, there are two ticker symbols listed for this one, and it depends whether you want to see the ETF in dollars or in pounds. So if you want to see it in dollars, it's WTAI. And if you want to see it in pounds, it's INTL. All right, so let's have a little look at this one. The WisdomTree Artificial Intelligence ETF seeks to track the price and yield performance before expense and fees of the NASDAQ CTA Artificial Intelligence Index. So it talks about why you'd want to invest into this. AI is a revolutionary technology with the potential for significantly transforming industry, services, labor, and consumption. 100% agree with that. It's completely changing everything, and I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. I guess it just depends if you want to back one company, a few companies, or you would just feel safer with an ETF, or you don't want to invest at all. You know, a lot of these companies, I don't mean to go off on a tangent, Nvidia, Meta, Tesla, I'm not going to go off on all of them, but these companies that are really heavily involved in AI do also, excluding Palantir for now, do also feature on ETFs like VUSA, an S&P 500 tracker. It just depends if you want a higher concentration of your money allocated to AI, robotics, automation plays specifically. So the fund offers access to the AI space through direct investment in publicly listed firms globally, which are capitalizing on AI by enhancing, enabling, or engaging the technology. So that's the criteria. They are investing into you're going to get companies that are capitalizing on AI by doing one of these things. And it also looks like it needs to meet WisdomTree's ESG criteria. I could make a whole video about ESG. It's an interesting one. I won't go on about that. First thing, the expense, 0.4%. So again, the same price as the one before, cheaper than the first couple that we've spoken about. You can see here the base currency USD. Like I said, there's 2 ticker symbols depending, and this is accumulating, so no dividends coming from this one to you. Eligible for the ISA and the SIP. Fantastic. UK reporting status, yes, that is important if you're a UK investor. Okay, let's scroll down a little bit more. So having a look at the performance, this is just growth of hypothetical £10,000, dollars, whatever. So since inception, so we can see that this fund, this ETF actually is very, very new. It only began in 2019 by the looks of it, January 2019. You might want to fact check that. But we saw a massive, massive rise. It plateaued for a bit up and down, all the normal, then a big decrease, and then it's back up again. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but all of these ETFs are doing exactly the same thing right now. Holdings, let's have a look what we've got. Okay, Nvidia is actually in third by weight, which is quite a surprise. In first, we have Upstart Holdings, and in second, we have C3.ai. C3.ai has actually been getting a lot of noise and a lot of attention recently, so you might have heard of that one. We've got BlackBerry. Is that the phone company? Are they still relevant? I've not heard of them for a while. Upstart Holdings, I don't actually know what they do. I'm going to quickly have a look. Okay, it says here, Upstart Holdings is an AI lending platform that partners with banks and credit unions to provide consumer loans and non-traditional variables, blah, 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 blah. So that's interesting. So that would be the financial sector that is the largest holding, which is different. Again, you want to have a look at the highest percentages for sure, because they are going to be affecting the performance. So sector breakdown, we have a very heavily concentrated IT sector here, 86%. So you would want to question whether that is something that your risk appetite is comfortable with. It might not be for everyone. It looks like we can see the companies. Yep, the companies that are falling into each of these sectors. So if my research was correct, we should see Upstart Holdings in financials. Nice. And looking at country allocation here, we see the US heavily weighted, Taiwan, Israel. Okay, Israel has been on all of them. I wonder what company is causing that. I don't actually know. Let me know in the comments if you know that. Save me from researching. I'm interested because it's been across the board on all of these ETFs. So I hope that video has shown you that there are ETFs out there for investing into robotics, automation, and artificial intelligence. If you don't want to individually pick particular stocks, it's a great option. Definitely do your own research. This is not financial advice. And if you've got any other ETFs or index funds that you want to share, leave them in the comments below and maybe they'll help someone else. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you again in another one very shortly.